Good evening. Welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph and I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. So this is my series, episode 5, featuring Eric Clapton, and the album is Just One Night. Now, I don't have the album. I do have a lot of Eric Clapton, more than I thought I had, but I don't have that particular one. Probably just haven't seen it around. You know, sometimes when I'm out looking for albums, I have a list that I go through, and those are the ones I'm looking for. And if I happen to see something that I wanted, I get it. But if I don't see it, sometimes the album may go for months before I actually find it. But anyways, this is my take 2 because I started this before and then realized I didn't have my notes. But I do have my notes now. So Eric Clapton. He's not one of my favorite bands. He's not really an artist that I listen to a lot of either, but I do like some of his stuff. And some of it I like quite a bit. This album, when it came out, I remember it. I remember seeing it in the store and thinking, yeah, I should get that. But it was a double live album, and in that time period, it had better be very good for me to be spending my hard-earned cash on a live album. Because I was never really a huge live album fan. I have mine that I like, and you know, there's more of them as time goes on that I like too, but generally speaking, I will always probably, if it comes down between a studio album and a live album, I almost always choose the studio album. That's just me. So anyways, this is a live album, the first of, I think there's 4 of them in my list. I think this is the first one of 4. Anyways, pretty solid album by a pretty solid musician. And with Eric Clapton, I tend to find that it's slow hand blues or really upbeat rockers. Now, in most cases, I find his guitar solos are really good on the slower stuff. But for some reason, even though they're pretty good on the slower stuff on this album, the upbeat stuff has some really, really outstanding guitar playing here. I mean, there's a reason why they call this guy a guitar god. He certainly is among the best. I used to think that he was just overrated. I really did. That's because I wasn't as much into that slow hand stuff as a lot of people are. But he can nail it in a lot of places too. So I basically listened to the entire album again, just to refresh myself with it. I never did buy this album. I remember seeing it, Sam the Record Man's on Yonge Street, and thinking, oh, I'd like to have that. That would be interesting to have. But it was a double album. So in that time period, double albums were usually more than double the price. And in that time period, I usually had somewhere between $10 and $20 on me, and I had stuff I had to buy. And back in those days, my 2 big priorities were comics and books. And I have a huge comic collection, and for those of you who don't believe me, all of those containers right down to the bottom are full. About 1,800 of them. Now, I don't read comics anymore. I gave that up 2 years ago. The format's changed a lot too, so it's complicated. I like the movies and stuff, but I don't get into it. But anyways, that was one of the reasons why I didn't buy the album, is that I had just enough for some of the comics I wanted and a book that I had wanted to purchase when I saw it that time. And there was a little bit left over, maybe $4 or $5, and I found an older album that I wanted instead. So I never bought this album, but I've heard it a few times. I've listened to it online, and I've seen it actually once, but it was brand new and somewhere in the $20 range, and it takes a lot to get me to spend $20 on an album. I gotta really like it, right? And I wasn't as enamored with this album, not $20 worth anyways. This is what I call like a level 3 album. Like in this particular album, it's probably like high 3, maybe a low 2. Anyways, there's about, I went through it and I labeled like 4 or 5 tracks that I kind of like quite a bit. There's a lot of bluesy stuff on this, but I only really labeled the one bluesy song. One song that I really quite liked, and that was "Rambling on My Wind," "Rambling on My Mind." And "Have You Ever Loved a Woman?" That is pretty solid track on this album. If you like the bluesy part of Eric Clapton, this is one of the better ones, I think. He's got a lot of real bluesy stuff on this album. I think there might be like 15 tracks on this album, of which I would say about 9 or possibly 10 of them are of that nature. And then there's 5 that are not of that nature. And it's no coincidence that the 4 of the other 5 are the other 4 of the songs that I chose, right? I like his really upbeat kind of stuff. Cocaine is on this as well. Great guitar solo in this. This live guitar solo is, I don't want to say it's the best guitar solo I've ever heard from him, but I can't think of another one that I think is better than this one that he's done anyways. So it's really good, really good. It's that alone makes the album worth having, just for that guitar solo. The other 3 songs I marked down was "After Midnight." I always kind of like that song a bit. "Lay Down, Sally," really good track. Kind of upbeat, but "Lay Down, Sally." Yeah, I always kind of like it. It's kind of got that southwestern sound to it that I kind of like. That he does. He does that. The songs that he does of that nature, I like quite a bit. And of course, my favorite track on this album is "Tulsa Time," which I always like that song. I think that may have been the song that got me into him, because I think I may have heard that before I've heard "Cocaine." "Cocaine" is a good song. Don't get me wrong. I think it's legendary in its status, but I just think this song, "Tulsa Time," is the song that when I think of Eric Clapton, that's my favorite, I think. So, it's just a really good album. If you like live Clapton, and most people I think do prefer him live over studio stuff, this is a pretty solid album, man. Can't go wrong here. So for today, on day 5, October the 5th, this is my choice for that day. Eric Clapton's "Just One Day." Great album, great album. I did get the title right. Sometimes I screw that up. Sorry, not "Just One Day," "Just One Night," which is probably the reason why I'm doing it now. So anyways, please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. And we'll be back. This one will come out tomorrow, which is Wednesday. So the next one will come out on Thursday morning. We'll be back for that. And that, coincidentally, is another live album. But one live album at a time, okay? Thank you. So have a good night. Murph out.